Hello everyone, my name is Faith Moyosore Agbola. I'm the founder of AFM Stories, which is an educational coaching and consulting firm dedicated to creating success stories out of young people or anybody really that's interested in studying abroad, winning a fully funded scholarship, or acing their academics abroad. Today we are having a webinar with an insider in the field, well, if I do say so myself. His name is David Gerling and he is the Associate Professor and Postgraduate Admissions Director at the University of East Anglia. We usually have scholarship winners on this show. We've had a couple of program officers, but today we have someone else, and a person working in the department that processes admission, for postgraduate studies. So I feel like we're going to be getting a new dimension into everything that he is going to be discussing today. So think about it like having somebody on the other end of the form, on the other end of the judgment, on the other end of the criteria, having an insight from somebody that works in the institution that you want to go into. So let's get into today's video. Thank you so much, David, for being here with us today. It's such an honor to have you, and I'm really looking forward to learning a whole lot from you. This session is going to be divided into different themes. So I did get a lot of questions around admissions, around scholarships, around PhD scholarships, and around basically just preparing for an excellent academic experience. In filling the form, a lot of applicants asked me a series of questions. So I'm going to be asking my questions under these themes, and also asking the questions that participants have sent. So you're in for a ride if you want to learn how to win scholarships at the University of East Anglia, a top 20 university in the UK. Anyways, David, my first question for you is really a light-hearted question, and it really goes like this. Why UEA?
Right, so why University of East Anglia? That's a difficult one for me to answer to some extent, because I was born in Norwich, so I love Norwich. I think it's a wonderful place to study. I didn't study here myself. I studied in Sheffield, but that's what most of us do in the UK, is that we leave the city that we were born in to go and have a sort of life elsewhere, to experience other kinds of study. But I've worked at University of East Anglia now for 10 years. I've known UEA for 35 years, because I first ever went there to see a live band, Madness, who were my favourite band when I was only 15 years old. It's a beautiful campus. It's got a lake. It's right next to a park. It's got massive halls of residence. It's got a fantastic sports park, which has got an Olympic-sized swimming pool. It's got a gymnastic area, a running track, etc., etc., etc. So although it's like about 2 miles from the city centre, it feels as though it's in the countryside. It feels as though it has its own ecosystem, its own environment. In fact, it's based on what's called Norwich Research Park, where there's some of the biggest research companies in the world for climate change, for food production, biology systems. There's a hospital there as well, which is a research centre. So it's more than just a university. It's a complete research environment. But I think for UEA has regularly been in the top 20 universities in the UK for development studies, which I actually teach in. We were just considered the first best in research in the whole of UK for development studies. So we're delighted about that. And so we came above, our competitors, who are Cambridge, Oxford, Manchester, big universities that you've probably all heard of. So yeah, there are lots of reasons, I think, but some people, I'll always say this, I'm always honest. Some people want to go to London. Some people want to go to Manchester, go to Birmingham, go to those big cities. Norwich isn't a big city, but because of where it is in the country, it feels like a slightly bigger city than it actually is, because it's 2 hours from London by train, a bit less than that. But it has it's got 4 theatres, it's got 2 massive cinema complexes, it's only 20-30 30 minutes to get to the coast so that you can do those kind of things as well. So it's a great environment to study, and it has a worldwide reputation, especially for international development. Sorry, I probably went on a bit too long then.
I think that a follow-up to that question, and something that really came up a lot, and it's from a couple of applicants feeling a little fearful about the learning environment. A couple of people have said that they've heard that masters in the UK is quite difficult. So what about the learning environment in UEA would make transitioning as an international student easier and more seamless, and possibly reduce the issues that could come up from a new environment?
Yeah, I mean, as I've already said, Norwich in itself is a small city that's easy to get around, and the same with the campus. Everything is all on one campus. So your lectures, the sports facilities, accommodation, if you stay in university accommodation, is all on campus. At postgraduate level, everybody gets a personal advisor who tends to be their course director. So I'm the course director for Media and International Development. And I'm the co-director, and so Martin and I sort of share a semester each. We get to know our students quite well. It was difficult this year because of the COVID restrictions, but usually we have a social when people start, and to get people together. There's very, very different types of lectures. So some of them are maybe only 15 people in a module group. Others can be up to sort of 70, 80 at postgraduate level. In our department, we usually have about 200 students. But you can, and Ayola can tell you this, but you can get to know your lecturers quite well if you make that effort. If you want to speak to them one-to-one, you can do that, whether it's on a meeting like this, or Teams is what we use, or whether it's face-to-face. As I said, that has been more difficult this year, but next year we hope everything will be back to normal. We hope. And so, yeah, I think that there are support systems in place, but it's not just that. At UEA, there's a really vibrant Nigerian society, and there's a video on our Instagram channel, everyday.dev, filmed by Ayola, very lively. It's the most fun musical chairs I've ever seen in my whole life in that film. So you can join societies.
Yeah,
there are student support people specifically for student support, but really the go-to point I think is your course director, and there's also a course rep that sort of goes to a student staff liaison committee. So if you have any problems with anything, whether it's module choice, or you have personal problems with even housing, or you're struggling, or you don't understand paraphrasing, there are people there to help you. In that first week or two as well, there are, what do they call them? I don't know what they call them. Academic study sessions or something like that, where you learn about referencing, you learn about paraphrasing, you learn about those kind of different things. Again, people didn't engage as much this year because a lot of that was online, but usually when it's face to face, that's a great way to get to know your peers, a great way to get to know some of the students, and a great way not to lose marks because you're learning about the English system. And so that's a really important thing to go to. Don't fail on referencing is what I say.
Yeah, I really love that. One thing I like to add to that is, as long as you take advantage of all of the opportunities available to you, you'll be fine. So do not let anybody scare you. There's a lot of support for masters, so just go for it and you'll be fine. So we're going to move into general admissions eligibility criteria, because a couple of that came up as well. Lots of people have concerns about whether they're eligible. So I've just summarized a couple of them for you so that we don't keep repeating questions. However, as we're talking, if you do have any questions, just drop it in the chat. And if it's related to what we're talking about, I would read it out to David, if that's fine. So I don't know if you could run me through the general eligibility criteria for postgraduate admissions at UEA. What exactly does UEA seek for in students that they want to admit?
Yeah, I mean, I can only really speak for the School of International Development, but I expect it's similar for most courses, but there will be some like medicine and that will be completely and utterly different. But in the School of International Development, we have 13 postgraduate taught courses, and the criteria is very similar across all of them. It's a minimum of a 2-1 equivalent at degree level. Don't ask me about equivalents because there's different kinds of degrees. So the admissions departments look at those and they look at GPA and all that kind of stuff, and they say whether it's a 2-1 equivalent or not. If you get a 2-1, then it's often referred to the course director, so someone like myself. I will then have a look at it, and as long as in your personal statement it's clear that you've understood the course for media and international development, we will give you an acceptance. If you're coming straight out of university from, I don't know, a degree in French, and you've never done anything in media in your life, then no, perhaps we won't give you a place. So it is good to have some experience, but it's not absolutely necessary to have experience, as long as you've got a good degree and you've got a good understanding. So that personal statement is absolutely crucial to make sure you understand the course. You know, if I look at a personal statement and it's talking about an MBA, then I know that they've just done a blanket application, or sometimes they even mention another university. Make sure you proofread your personal statement, because you're just sending it out to loads of universities. If that happens, then I'm just like, oh, well, they're not really interested. So no, I'll reject them. So yeah, it's not as hard as you think to get a place at any university if you have a 2-1 or above.
Okay, so now this yeah, definitely. But the thing now is, I did get a lot of questions from applicants that do have a 2-2. So are you categorically saying that if you have a 2-2, you can't get in, or are there ways that you can make up for having less than 2-1?
Yeah, so if you have a 2-2, then it's often referred to the course director, and it's up to them to make a decision. And I would usually do it based on first degree. So look at the first degree, is it relevant? And do they have any relevant experience within the field that they want to go into? So yes, you can still get a place with a 2-2, but some courses will just blanket no. They will say no, but not every course. We wouldn't on media. We would look at them individually.
Okay, guys. So don't give up. Try and work on your experiences. It should help you. Okay, so there's a question from participants on the eligibility criteria. So someone says that what is the acceptance rate for UBA? So is it extremely hard, or would you say it's really tight?
I have some stats. What can I look at? No, I would say that the majority of people, I think we've had about 2,600 people apply this year. I can't remember the figures exactly. Probably 60-70% of people will be offered a place if they have a 2-1 or relevant experience. Yeah, but that's if they have. The majority of people already, because they've seen the criteria, already apply with a 2-1. So I would say that 90+% of the people that apply are already doing that because they've got a 2-1.
Okay, so guys, experiences or 2-1 and you will be fine. And also don't make any of the mistakes that you mentioned, because I still find it really hilarious. So proofread your personal statements, get everything together and shoot your shot. So the next question here is, what is the possibility of securing admission or scholarships at UEA without English tests? So I got a lot of questions around, can I get it without an English test? Can I get admission into UEA with my WAEC or my work experience? So I don't know if you can, touch on that.
Yeah, it's usually a no, I'm afraid. So we had someone recently that had worked in the NGO sector for, I don't know, one of the UN departments for 10 years, but we still required a test. But there are, there are different tests. There's the new online test I can't even remember the name of. And there's obviously the IELTS and the TOEFL, etc., TOEFL. So yes, it's very rare that people will get the test waived. Very rare.
Okay. I do know that some departments allow WAEC, but I think there is a limit to the amount of years that you have done the test. So I do know of a couple of people that use their WAEC. That's for Nigerians, by the way.
Okay.
But I know that once that period is expired, you would have to do IELTS. So
yeah, I mean, UEA has somebody who's based in Nigeria, Debbie, and so if anybody has any specific questions, I'd be happy to put you in touch with Debbie, who knows all about the English language requirements, which is something that I stay out of.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just go into scholarships at UEA. I hope that has given you guys clarity on applications, because obviously you need to get admission into UEA before you can get scholarships to study at UEA. So I do know that there are a couple of scholarships at UEA, hundreds of them, and it's not possible that we can touch on every single one of them. So I'm going to focus on a few. That's the International Development Scholarship and also the Allen and Ferguson. And then I did see common questions around the other scholarships that I've just put here, so that I could just ask you to just shine the light on them. So yeah, we could talk about the International Development Scholarship at UEA. I do know that you're involved in that. So if you can just run us through like what they look for in students, how can an applicant put their best foot forward, basically, in the application.
Okay, there are lots of different scholarships, as you say, and they change every year, but I can tell you the ones that will be running next year. This year, and I presume it will be the same, every single Nigerian student who got a 2-1 got a £4,000 discount. And I think that's going to happen next year, but it's not been confirmed. If you have an equivalent of a first, I think you can get a £5,000 discount on fees. And then there are others, so they're automatic. They're automatic because Nigeria is one of the most, I think it's the biggest cohort of students now at the University of East Anglia, and this has only sort of happened in the last couple of years. Certainly this year, because I was looking at statistics in the School of International Development so far, because all we can tell is people who pay deposits, the biggest cohort is currently Nigerians.
Wow.
I think to date there's about 35 that are coming into our department alone. Wow. And that sort of changes every year. There's different fashions, and it's all around visas and it used to be China was a really big market, but because of the coronavirus, there's a lot of fear and a lot of people are under lockdown still in China. So it changes all of the time. India is a big market for us at the moment, but then lots of other African countries, Kenya, Ghana, etc., on a smaller scale, but we've got a really, really good mix in our department, and that's something we really like. We want to encourage, for example, more students from South America, Brazilian students, Colombian students, etc., because we think that the more people you've got from around the world, the richer experience that you have. That's definitely for me as a teacher. If you've got people from Brazil discussing media and international development with someone from India, with somebody from Nigeria, from Kenya, etc., bringing their own experiences in, that just makes the debates in the classroom so much better. So getting back to scholarships, so they are competitive, and there are scholarships, as I said, there's the Sub-Saharan Africa scholarship, which is worth £8,000, and that's competitive, so you have to write a 250-word statement for that, and I think there are 3 of those. So there's the automatic, there's the Sub-Saharan Africa, and then there are sort of the golden scholarships, the Alan and Nesta Ferguson that you've talked about, which is full fees. So all of your, whatever it is these days, £18,000 fees, plus a £12,000 subsistence as well. So we have 4 of those next year. And then there is the Commonwealth Scholarship as well. That's very, very competitive. We have a student who's actually studying media and international development this year on a Commonwealth Scholarship. I'm not sure what the subsistence rate is for that, but it's quite good. And then the other thing, and this is our biggest competitive scholarship, but nothing to do with us whatsoever, and that's the Chevening Scholarship, which I'm sure you're all aware of through the Foreign Office and Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, or whatever it is, Chevening. Last year, I think we had about 20 different students in our department out of 200 students on Chevening Scholarship. So that is more than the rest of the university combined, because what Chevening is looking for is for people interested in development, really. And so, yeah, you can go and study marketing or politics, etc. But we get, as I said, we get more than the rest of the university combined, and there are 24 schools of study. So that's probably your best chance of getting a really good scholarship, is the Chevening Scholarship. The next best is the Alan and Nesta Ferguson Scholarship. And then there are other competitive scholarships after that.
Okay, thank you so much for that great, detailed information about the opportunities. I would like to zoom in on some of them, especially the application questions. You could just give us some tips. So I did check out the International Development Scholarship question, and it was about a 250 word question, and they were asking about, I'm trying to paste it here, but basically the question was trying to find out about how we can contribute to the student experience at UVA, what have we done in our field that can greatly enrich the student experience. I basically saw a lot of that coming up, so I don't know if you can touch on the question for the International Development Scholarship and how best applicants can.
Okay, right. Number one rule. So we get a lot of applications, and we have to, there is absolutely no way you can read every single application in detail, because we get too many for the amount of people. So there has to be, and this is for nearly every scholarship. I know that this happens for Chevening scholarships as well. If you don't get a 2-1, then we don't even read it, because that is an actual criteria, okay? So you don't get a 2-1, don't even bother spending your time writing those 250 words. You're not going to get a scholarship. Number 2, answer the questions. I know that seems really ridiculous, but no, sorry, number 2 is don't go over the word limit. Every single person that wrote over, I don't know what it was this year, 270 words, I think, just got cut. They had to go. So they could have been brilliant, but they couldn't even hit a word limit. And if you were marking an essay at UEA and you are over 10% over the word limit, then you fail. So we sort of applied the same thing. If you can't do it, it was 275 words. If you can't do 275 words, then you've failed an assignment effectively. So they all went. So that's number 2. Don't go over the word limit. Number 3 is read the questions. So let's have a look at these questions again. No one will tell us how you applied for will achieve your career goals, how your experiences and interests would aid the learning of the cohort as a whole. Right, so how many questions are there within that question? There's 2, and we're grading it on those 2 questions. So first of all, what course have you applied for, and how is it going to actually affect your career goals? So you need to put that quite succinctly, because you've only got 250 words. And then yeah, what is your experience and your interest that will cause that really healthy debate in a class? So as I said, we have lectures, we have seminars, we have workshops, we have different styles of teaching. And in the seminars, they generally tend to be a sort of around a discussion. So yeah, unfortunately, the more experience you've got, whether that's paid or unpaid, the better. Talk about it. Yes, we're interested if you've won some kind of scholarship or won an award. That's interesting, but how do we actually know what that award actually is? I mean, my children are at high school, and my daughter got an award recently. We were like, yay, and we went there, but like half her year got an award for some kind. Now she got more awards than anyone else, so she was technically the best in the year. But if she'd have written on an application that she'd won an award, we'd be like, well, how many else got an award? Do you know what I mean? It's not quantifiable, if that makes sense. But if you're talking that you've had experience of working as a current student who's, what is it? I can't remember. It's in Nigeria, ghetto kids or something like that, or chess in slums. I can't remember the organisation. But they talked about that and the experience that they'd had and the kind of work that they'd done within their actual 250 words. And I'm like, this sounds really cool. This is the kind of thing that in a classroom setting is quite different from what other students have done. So talk about those experiences that you've had, and yeah, how it will enrich other people's conversations within the classroom.
Wow, that is so useful. And it's really reminding me about like Ayola's like application, how it stressed around the fact that he had lots of experiences making videos, working in diverse organizations, and he was able to talk about specifically how he can contribute this in class. So he has experience in both in the organization, but also as someone that has benefited from organization. So I really like that you mentioned this. Ensure that you're specific about where you've worked and how exactly it can tie into the scholarships. Because many people just say, oh yeah, I've worked here and here, but like you said, we can't really see how it all ties into the master's experience of yourself and other students. So I'm going to post another question. International excellence scholarships. It's quite similar to this, but there's still little variations.
We would like to film your response to the following two questions. Tell us how the course has been chosen will equip you with the transferable skills required to meet your future career aspirations. Consider different social and extracurricular opportunities available to you at UEA, and outline how you might engage with these in order to enhance your experience. Interesting. Is that the Norwich Business School out of interest?
Yeah, it's actually, this question was quite common to a lot of scholarships at UEA. So
yeah,
I think that by answering this, you could give them clarity on a lot of them. So
yeah. So, you know, again, I mean, it's similar, and you have to sort of answer those two questions, obviously. And I would personally do it as looking at them 50-50. So if you've got to make your film, is it about 2 minutes in length, you can actually say a lot in 2 minutes. So tell us how the course has been chosen. Why have you chosen that course, and how is it going to, help you in your career? Look at the modules, look at the module content. If there's a course director named, then look at the kind of things that course director does. There's often profiles of academics on the different websites. So, you know, my profile's there, Martin, who teaches media and international development, is there. Have a look at the kind of research that we've done. It never hurts to actually name drop in these things, but make sure it's, well, I mean, you know, it doesn't get you any sort of extra points, but it shows that you've done that extra research. It shows that you've looked into the people, you've looked at their research, and you're interested in it. And then the social and extracurricular opportunities, again, you know, at UEA, there's, I think, about 200 different societies in the student union. As I said earlier, there's the Nigerian Society, but there's Chess Society, there's Media Society. In media, you can, there's a TV station at the university, there's a radio station at the university. The BBC Radio 1, which is the biggest national radio station. It was the biggest radio station in the UK and worldwide famous. A student who studied at UEA years ago is the breakfast radio DJ, which is the #1 radio show in the country, and he studied at UEA. He didn't study journalism. He did something like history or English literature or something like that. But he went to the radio station. He learned all of those skills in his own time, and now he's the biggest paid probably, and certainly the most successful radio presenter in the whole of the UK. So look at those kind of societies. How can you benefit from those? If you I'm talking about media a lot, sorry, because I'm a media person, but you know, there are photography societies, there are filmmaking societies. There are so many different things that you can do, but you can also do placements, you can do unpaid work, you can understand the course, look into the detail and make sure that you include that. You know, that you can get as much, and I really will say this as well, you can get as much out of any university experience by doing extracurricular stuff than you can from the taught stuff as well. It's what you make it, and you can find job opportunities, work opportunities, exciting unpaid opportunities, exciting paid opportunities. Make the most of wherever you go.
Okay, thank you so much for that, David. I have another question before I go into the applicants' questions. This is the final one. But anyways, I did post a couple of questions in the chat box. I don't know if David saw them.
I don't think they came up.
Let me repost them again.
Please remember to state how it best meets your objectives and why you should be awarded. Awards are based on academic merit, and financial considerations are not taken into account. So yeah, you know, I mean, it's very similar to the others. Why is this course going to actually help you in your career? Really, so understand the course and then tell us how it's going to help develop your career. Based on academic, you know, a lot of people will say how poor they are, how they haven't got any money, etc., but they then actually go on to say that they studied at Yale University on a scholarship, etc. So you know, the majority of scholarships are not based on finances. The Alan and Nesta scholarships are, but it's very, very hard to actually decide to work out really who are the, you know, who are the people that need this the most. It's incredibly hard. But that one actually says that there's nothing to do with finance, so don't even mention it. Don't say, you know, I grew up and it's, I mean, I don't know if you have the X Factor in Nigeria or shows like that, but there's always like these shows where people come on, they sing, and then they get a recording contract, and they always have a sad story to tell, and there's sort of some kind of compassion fatigue listening to these stories. And it's a bit similar with applications. If it's not going to be based on finance, then we don't need to know about your background. We need to know how it's going to actually help you in your future career. If it does say that you need to talk about your financial background, then obviously you do. Are there any relevant circumstances regarding your application that we'd like to draw to the attention of the UEA Scholarships Committee? Well, you know, then that's different. That's a free-for-all. You can say whatever you want. But
yeah,
I suppose, yeah, the word there is relevant.
Going off one, yeah, exactly. Yeah. What would you consider relevant if you were like on the other side of the form?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I want somebody that is going to truly benefit from a study experience in the UK, who isn't just looking for a visa to go and be in another country. I know that that's just a fact of life. There are people from the UK who want visas in Australia, and there's people in Nigeria who want the UK, and many other different variables. But yeah, be honest about what you want to achieve, what your career goals are, and what you offer the cohort. That's the most important thing to me. That is exactly what I want to know. This person really wants to make a difference. They've researched UEA, they know what their career is, and they know how this actual specific course, not generic course, because that's obvious, this specific course is going to help them achieve their goals.
Okay, thank you for that. I hope you guys have noted that down. Be very specific about the course and how it can help your goals. Avoid, talking a lot about the negative sides of your background, especially if they are not relevant in terms of like the context or the storytelling. Focus on relevant experiences and you should be fine. Okay, I got a lot of questions around PhD studentships and funding. I don't know if you can touch on that. And one of the common questions was, do I need a master's degree to get a PhD at UEA? So I don't know if you can answer that. You need a master's degree. Okay. Are there grade specifications, like maybe a distinction, merits?
Not really. The way I always think, I don't do PhD admissions, but somebody, again, you have to know what the academics at the university, wherever you're applying, what they're interested in. Supervising someone's PhD, which takes 3 years full-time, 6 years part-time, you have to be really interested. I don't supervise PhDs, but my wife does at another institution, and my colleagues do. You have to really, really, really be interested in that subject, because the whole point of a PhD is that you do it's groundbreaking research. It's brand new, it's unique, it's never been done before. So you have to do that first. You have to find out, is my subject unique? And you have to write your proposal, and your proposal has to be incredibly well researched. And once you've found what you want to do, you then have to find the professor, the academic, whatever, that's interested in your subject. So it's usually finding the academic, not the institution. You don't think, I want to go and study at UEA. It's, I want to study this, and now I need to find out where that specialist is in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification. Like, I really love that. One common question that I would say is a follow-up to that is, a couple of people are interested in PhD funding, and basically the summary of what they're trying to get is, for someone interested in a PhD funding opportunity, what can they do right now, as maybe a recent graduate, somebody trying to apply, what can they do right now to improve their chances in terms of maybe academic or professional experiences? Do they need publications? Do they need work experience? What can they do now to boost their chances of getting funded for a PhD opportunity?
So first of all, have they, in their master's degree, did they do a dissertation? And if they're thinking about a PhD in the future, not all master's degrees require you to do a dissertation. So the media and international development, you don't have to do a dissertation. You can do a dissertation or a work placement. If you want to do a PhD, do the dissertation. You must do that dissertation. So you want to have as much research experience as possible. But then the other thing is that you have to pique the interest of that academic to really want you. So what will happen? You apply for a scholarship, but at the end of the day, you've got to have the offer of a PhD first. Now, you're not going to get the offer of a PhD unless the academic that you're applying to be your supervisor, your principal supervisor, is interested in your subject. So that is the first thing you need to do. So it's sort of a chicken and egg situation. You've got to know what you want to write about. You've got to know that there's a gap in the literature. If you write to somebody with sort of an idea, fine, as long as that's a researched idea. If they come back to you and say, well, that's been written about here, here, and here, then that's their interest gone. you need to have shown that you've done some research in the first place, and then they might help you shape your original application. But if you just write to someone and say, oh, you know, how do I do this? How do I do that? That just shows that you're going to be a poor PhD student, basically, because a PhD student is a researcher. So if you can't do the research with access to the internet, then why would anyone waste their time talking to you? Sorry, that sounds really harsh, but there's a lot of people asking these questions all the time, and we're not paid really to help people who aren't our students, if that makes sense. But if somebody comes and, you know, genuinely has an interest and has research, then you go, yay, and people will go out of the way to help you. But you have to have that idea first, and you have to know who the person is. As I said, if I get contacted by somebody, I get contacted by quite a few people asking me to supervise their PhDs because they're interested in the research I've done. I don't supervise PhDs, but I can then recommend them other professors that do. But yeah, if they just write to me and ask me general questions, then I'll just say, you need to do some research.
I really love that you touched on that, because a lot of the questions kept asking on how can I best contact the supervisor, what are they looking for in the email. So I think that he has answered your question. So I'm just going to move on to the next one. Someone says that I have applied for the UBA International Development Scholarship in the past. Do I need to always change my essays any year I send in a new application? I'm thinking of making a new application.
Yeah, no, because no one's gonna read your old one. So we get so many applications, there's no way that you're gonna remember it. So no, send the same one. But it depends. If you were going for a scholarship and you didn't get it, then yeah, I'd change it. But if you're just applying for the course, then no need to change it.
Okay, guys. Well, I think you've answered this, but there's a lot of questions around are there other ways I can qualify? I think you've answered it. I'm just going to skip it. If I have a GPA of 3.06 over 5, is there other ways I could qualify?
Yeah, I only if you've got past experience. So if it's not equivalent of a 2-1, then you need that experience. Yeah, and some courses will just say no immediately. The more competitive courses will just say no, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Yeah. Someone says, can I apply for the scholarship when I've already done one master's with another scholarship? Would it affect me?
No, it won't affect you. You can do that. But as I said before, if there is a sort of financial question, you know, then I'm always a bit skeptical. I'm always like, well, if you know you've already had a full scholarship, why do you deserve this second scholarship? Why haven't you gone on to do something really amazing already? Why do you need a second scholarship? So it's a sort of consideration.
So that's like for
you can apply for master's.
Okay. But for PhD, would you say a past scholarship would be a plus for masters?
Yeah, so probably. For PhD, it probably would be, yeah.
Okay. I have deviated from my BSc course, although I have certificates to back up my new field in terms of short courses. Do you know if this would be an hindrance because I am changing industries?
If you haven't completed your degree and you don't have an equivalent, then you wouldn't get a place. But if you've changed and you've completed your degree, then it'll be fine.
So I think the person has completed their degree in maybe, I don't know this course because the person was not specific. So let me ask an hypothetical question. So maybe the person finished in history and the person wants to study media, and maybe they've done a couple of online courses on media. Would the fact that their first degree is in a totally different course deter the admissions committee, or would their online courses help to make up for their lack of a relevant degree?
The relevant degree doesn't matter with you have to look at every single course, but for media and international development, we don't need you to have done a relevant media course. There are people who have done history or geography or different things like that. We just want to know that you're interested in it and you understand what the course is. But if you didn't complete your degree, those short courses won't make up the shortfall. You need to still, you did computer science. And so if you did computer science, did I see someone say there, what degree do you then want to go on to do?
Oh, okay. I think he's adding to what you're saying, that he did computer science. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. It shouldn't tell you.
You don't need often to have a relevant degree. So take, for example, one of my students, they're from the UK, they're actually from Norwich, but they studied media and international development and for undergraduate, and now they want to go into marketing and communications, and they've said, shall I do the media and international development master's degree? And I've just been honest and I said, no, you should do a marketing degree. And they were worried that because they'd done international development with media that they couldn't do a marketing degree. And I said, well, why not? Because they're called what is called conversion degrees. So most courses will teach you everything right from the very beginning, and you don't need that specific knowledge. There are 2 degrees in the School of International Development where you do impact evaluation and development economics. You need a first degree in economics, and it will be the same in some other schools as well. But there are a lot of courses where the first degree that you took doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you for that, David. There's a particular question here, and I've gotten this question quite a number of times. And the person is saying, if I get a scholarship at UEA with stipend, am I allowed to work, or am I restricted to the monthly stipend?
Oh, I don't 100% know the answer. I think it depends which scholarship you get. So as far as I know, I think you can still work your 20 hours on your tier 4 visa. So I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure you can, yeah. Because that stipend is more for your sort of living costs rather than you know, anything else, like buying a laptop. So yeah.
Okay, I'm actually getting to the end of my questions, guys. If you have any question before we close, please drop it in the chat. I'm just trying to get a couple of some of your final questions. Yes, so someone says that I'm currently an undergraduate student, but I do want to get a fully funded scholarship once I'm done with my degree. What would you advise that I do right now to greatly boost my my experiences and my background to position me as a competitive candidate for scholarships at specifically UEA?
Yeah, get a job and get some experience, because that you're competing with lots of people, and it's very unlikely that any student would get a fully funded scholarship unless they have some significant experience. So yes, we do look at people that have volunteering jobs, because some people do amazing work voluntary, but you know, if you've got a really good, well-paid job, then and you've been doing it for a number of years, then that's going to look better, isn't it? So I mean, it depends every single year, but our scholarship applications are going up every year rather than down every year, if that makes sense. So yeah, you need that work experience, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Okay, so another similar question, but this is for someone that is already done. The person is aiming to come to UEA this September, and the person wants to know what the person can do now to ensure that they take advantage of the opportunities available at UEA. So they need to read now, research. What do they need to do now before resumption to ensure they get the best?
Have they got on?
UEA.
They've got an
What did
offer
you
this year. Have they
Yeah,
got an
they've
offer
gotten
this
an
year?
offer already.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Because applications have now stopped to UEA for this year for international students. That's what I was asking.
Mm.
I mean, basically, whoever your course director is, and if it's in the School of International Development, you can email me if you don't know who the course director is. Contact them and ask them for a reading list. So for some of the core readings. So take, for example, Media and International Development. Martin Scott, the co-director, has written a textbook on media and international development. It's quite short. It doesn't take you very long to read, a couple of days at the most. That would be my advice to anybody that would do that. But, media and international development, there are so many different research out there that are already available, that are in the public domain. So contact your course director and ask them if you can do some reading. I've just asked my colleagues in Dev, as we call it, what advice would they give to first year undergraduate students that are coming in? And this is a little series I'm doing for Instagram. And they say, read, or one of them did. And I think that that's true. Take that opportunity, because once you come to UEA, you're going to do a lot of reading. So get used to it. But I would also say, if you're preparing, go and have a look at the social media channels that we've got. As I said, it's everyday.dev is Instagram. There's loads of videos on there. I think there's 28 different posts by Chevening scholars, that past Chevening scholars giving advice on how to apply for Chevening. There's information about the city on there, life as a student, best things to do on campus. So there's a whole series of videos. I'm in one of them, unfortunately for you, where I talk about, I'm asked 10 different questions about UEA and Dev. So look at Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Join us on LinkedIn. We share information on there. Get a feeling for Norwich and things like that as well.
Okay. There's a particular question on the chat. A couple of questions actually, guys. So you can drop your questions as we prepare to round up. But someone is saying that, what about medical doctors? As ours is not graded, there's no 2-1 of first class. What do you think would be the judging criteria?
I have no idea, I'm afraid. If you email admissions@uea.ac.uk, they'd be able to help you. But as I said, it's quite complex. The admissions team do this day-to-day basis, and we just look at the personal statements, not anything to do with language or anything to do with past qualifications, I'm afraid. So you need to contact them. Sorry.
Okay. Someone is saying, for the scholarships, what about someone with a 2-2 in their undergraduate but a 2-1 in a postgraduate diploma? Can one get the scholarship?
Possibly, if they have good experience, but unlikely.
Okay. But you keep repeating this experience, so it does seem like it's a strong criteria. So yes, repetition is key.
Yeah,
you keep saying experiences, so work on that. Okay, I think there are a couple of other questions. There's a particular question that kept coming up, and I think it was about IELTS. And I think the person has the general test as against the usual academic test. Can the general one be used instead of the academic one?
Again, don't know. Sorry, don't do language.
Sorry.
Again, you email admissions at Okay.
I think Ayola has dropped it in the chat, so you can just email them for like the specific questions. I did get a lot of questions around if decisions have been made for scholarship opportunities. A couple of them even specified on the International Development Scholarship. So I don't know if you know if decisions have been made on scholarship now.
Yeah, they have.
Okay. So guys, they have.
Yeah, they have been made. They've all been sent out. There is a really slim chance. I had a look at the number of deposits that have been paid today. I don't see the Alan and Esther Ferguson, but like most of the people who've had their offers have already accepted them and taken them. But you know, there is a reserve list if people don't take them, but you should have heard by now, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Okay, so this Daniel keeps dropping the undergraduate statement of results. I do think that admissions is your best bet, but I don't know if David can comment on that. If people can apply with their undergraduate statement of results, I think as opposed to your certificate, right? Is that what you're asking, Daniel?
Yeah, I would have thought so, but yeah, it is one for admissions because everything goes through a whole process of admissions. They check all of the documentation. Literally, all I have to check is so that's it, right? Someone applies for a course, it goes to admissions. They'll then get back to you and say, "Where's your reference? Upload your certificate. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this." And I don't see it until everything has been done like that. And then it will come to me with the personal statement. I read the personal statement and make that decision on whether there's a place or not. So anything before that, whether it's language or certificates or anything, admissions@uea.ac.uk is the best email to contact people on.
Okay, guys. So in the absence of any further questions, I just have a final question for you, David. And obviously, everyone that was here is interested in getting a scholarship, especially at UEA. And a couple of them might have been rejected, or some of them are just starting the application. So what would you say is your single most important advice to anybody about to restart the journey again or start the journey afresh? So someone that wants to win a scholarship, whether fully funded, Chevening, Commonwealth, the International Development Scholarship, what would you say is your single most important advice? Something they should hold on to while they're on the journey?
Read the criteria, answer the criteria, stick to the word limit. Every one of those scholarships has different criteria, and as I said, you go over the word limit, you're out. If you don't hit the 2-1 and that's the criteria, you're out, etc. So understand that. Also understand that it is competitive. Don't give up. You can go and get more experience. So if you have failed last time because you didn't meet the criteria, give up. If you don't meet the criteria, you're not going to get the criteria unless you retake your degree. But if you do get the 2-1 and you want to improve yourself, then go out, get that work experience, whether it's paid or unpaid, and look for things that might be really, really interesting. What's happening near you that you can go and volunteer in that's relevant to your degree? If you're applying to media and international development, go and work for a community radio station, or do something on social media. Write your own blog, go and make some films. I spoke to someone incredibly senior in the Department for International Development who was in charge of digital communications, and I asked them about applying for a job, and they said there's absolutely no excuse in this world, if you're interested in media, to not be self-published. Many years ago, it was hard to get published, and if you can get published in a local newspaper, magazine, etc., great, but you can self-publish. You can set your own blog up. I've got a blog on social media for development because it's my interest. Admittedly, I haven't done it for a long time because I've been too busy, but there's about 120 posts that I wrote there, and I contacted people all over the world that were interested in that, and I became a specialist in it. You can do that yourselves. Think of something niche. Social media in Nigeria, for example, is it seems to be of interest to the students. The NSARS protests, etc., had lots of heated debates in the classroom. Thought I was going to have to leave the class. It got that heated. Yeah, you can self-publish, so there's no excuse not to get that experience.
All right, guys. A lot of scholarships are actually opening up in August. I know Chevening is opening up on August 1st. And obviously, this is the beginning of a new cycle. So it's very important that all of these things that David is saying, start applying, start working towards them. Many people tend to wait till a few months before the scholarships open or a few months before the session opens to start doing things, but start to work on these things right now. Start preparing ahead for next year so that when eventually some of these UEA scholarships come up, you can, apply and try. I do have a YouTube channel that has a lot of videos on scholarships. The replay of this is going to be up on the YouTube channel. We do have a lot of videos on traveling scholarships, and UEA has a lot of traveling scholars, so you can watch a couple of those videos to learn about getting the traveling scholarships. We have videos around Commonwealth, a lot of scholarships as well. So because I did get a lot of questions around whether the recording of this will be available, so I have dropped the link on the chat for the channel, and you guys can check it out. But David, thank you so much. I have learned so much from this. I am a scholar, but there's so much insight that I've gained from this. And for me, it was really surprising to hear that people actually go over the word count and, people actually make some of those mistakes, because I've seen a lot of really talented people, really hardworking people that have done great things. And when they tell me that, I keep getting rejected, I'm always confused. What happened? What did you do? But listening to a lot of these things, I'm seeing that sometimes it could be little mistakes, not answering the question, not projecting yourself as someone that actually meets the criteria, not communicating your story, and actually just do the work. When I tell people to just do the work, it always seems like I'm being harsh. But hearing you say just do the work, I feel like you guys have heard it from someone on the other hand, and you guys can learn from that. So do the work, create things, and don't wait for a scholarship to create things. There are other opportunities as well for you that will come from just creating and being. Thank you so much, David, for this. And thank you everyone as well for joining. It's been really amazing. Bye, guys.
Bye. Nice to meet you, Faith.